Hi everybody, it's Kathy from Huckleberry Herbs and Art. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming by to see what I have today. I promised I would make a video showing how to use the new Heartfelt Creations 3D Blossoms shaping mold. I love using the molds, and I just thought I'd let you have a little peek at the card that is the completed project at the end of this video. So without further ado, let's get started on making the blossoms and card. So the first thing you have to do is stamp up the blossoms. I think you probably could use the molds with just hand cutting some flowers, but really they complement so well the mold if you actually stamp and dye with Heartfelt Creations flowers and stamps that go with each of the molds. So I stamped them out, and I am using my chameleon markers to color them in. I've got, I think it's peony pink here. I decided to stick with chameleon. I actually recently purchased a few more colors, and I'm getting used to them. They are totally different than Copics and some of the other markers that a lot of people use, but I like them. I like the thickness of them as well. They feel good in my hand. It's getting harder as I get older to grip tiny things anyway, and I like the way that they blend and stuff too. So I'm coloring up the leaves so that I can have some of those to go along with my flowers, and I enjoyed this process. And once done, I just cut the different sections out so that I would be able to fit them in with the dies that go with the stamps, dies, and mold. They all match up perfectly. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about these, and this is the Oakberry Lane Blossoms dies that I'm using, these molds, when they first came out, but boy, I am having a good time with them. They really do a good job. So I've got this into my big shot, and it's not easy to take a shot using your big shot. I've got to stop putting this on a slippery table when I'm trying to film this for you. So they cut perfectly well, and I used my magnetic platform so that I wouldn't have a problem with having to tape them down and stuff. So that helped a lot. The whole point of the mold and all these dies and stamps is that you can really produce quite a few of whatever it is you're working on, and do so systematically. And if you were making cards for wedding invitations, or if you were doing shower gifts and things like that, it really does take the time out of some of the more painstaking parts of creating lots of flowers. So I'm going to end up with a lot of flowers and not too much time. 3D Blossoms. This is the mold, and this is a really deep mold. You can just tell from the outside that it's going to do a great job of creating some beautiful three-dimensional texture. And on the inside, in case you haven't seen these, you're going to be placing the flowers in that left part that I'm holding up there. And there really is no wrong way to do this, but I have been doing it with facing the flowers down. And you don't have to be perfect about how you get them in. Now, some of the molds come with, you can actually see the different sized petals or leaves, and they sort of fit in. And I suppose you could be picky about these ones as well. There's some shape to them according to the stamp shape. But really, if you just get them in there, placed on top of the spots that was made for them, and put it in the press, you're going to have some really neat shaped blossoms and leaves. So I've got these all in here, and we'll come back with just a little squirt of water, just barely, especially if you're working with any mediums like watercolor and stuff. Wouldn't hold up too well if it got very soaked. But this is just a gentle spray. And then there are 3 of these little squares and 1 corner without. That's how you figure out which way to put it on. Of course, you could just follow the direction of the mold itself. And I find if you're careful to put it directly on top and then press it right down, that it works much better and you don't have the petals slipping inside. Then you just put your usual plate on the bottom and the mold on top of it and your cover plate, and you run it through your machine. Now you could easily put some cardstock to layer it up and cause a little more pressure, or not, according to the way that your machine works, but mine did a good job just as is, and the dimension that you get in just a few moves in a few seconds, really, this is beautiful. This would have taken me so long, and as I said, with my hands getting older, it's harder and harder to do all the hand embossing that it takes to do this, and they're done in a way that really mimics the real petals. So when I'm finished, I have a ton of little blossoms and leaves to create with. And in that pile there was, I went back and stamped on some of Heartfelt Creations' Oakberry Lane paper too, so that I would have a couple different shades of the pink. So one was hand colored, and I have another group of the flowers that came from the paper stock itself, and I just decided to color up the edges to put a little more depth and tone into the flowers. And now it's easy. Just put some glue in, press it on your little foam mat or whatever it is that you have. You don't have to have professional tools for this. You can use an eraser or something if you don't have anything else, and just try to offset your petals so that they go into the spaces in between the petals below, and you're going to just end up with a beautiful shaped flower with lots of 3-dimension. And so for the large one, I used 2 of the larger and 1 of the medium-sized petals, and this is just a piece of white shipping styrofoam. A lot of people have gotten the ones where you can, you know, clean out your dyes and stuff on them. I'm just using shipping material here. So sorry it went out of focus. It'll be right back. And I showed you the tip of my stylus here. It's kind of curved, but anything pointy so that you can pop it through, because I'm going to put stamen in these. So you can see that I've actually made a hole big enough to take some of Heartfelt Creations' little stamens. And by the way, the molds and stamps and dies, I have them at HuckleberryHerbs.com. Please stop on over. It helps me to have you visit and support my store, and on top of watching my YouTube channel. Nobody makes $1 billion. Well, maybe somebody makes $1 billion on YouTube. I don't. And it helps to keep the store. Plus, I like sharing these things, and then you can buy the products and do them yourself. And I'm always looking for people to send me samples or pictures of what they've done, so that I can share them too. And I'm on Instagram and Pinterest and stuff, so pop on over and see what's there. So I just am going to snip off the end, because I know that anything bulky on the bottom is going to be a problem if you're going to put it on cards. And I've put glue on the top and the bottom, and just press that down a little bit to seal it, to make sure that the stamen don't fall out. And with these ones, I chosen to go with gold or gold shaded stamens, but with the cardstock that actually came out of the paper pad, I'm going to use a little more gray or silvery looking stamens. So I ended up with some warm and cool toned flowers, and that way, depending on what shades I'm using on a card or a project, I'll have some of these stashed away in a box all set to go. For the smaller ones, I used 2 of the medium size and 1 of the small on top. And I will make a couple of the smaller ones where it's just the smallest of them, so they come in 3 different sizes with the stamp and dies, and all 3 sizes plus the leaves fit into the mold beautifully. I couldn't help myself. This Paperlicious Crystal Clear, I have this in the store too if you like it as well. I had to put some sparkle on, and I'm so tired of trying to make the glue go where I want. I put a little of my glue over to the side, and I'm using my favorite glue as always, which again I have the glue in the store too, but I put a little drop of water on it and used an old brush, and I just wanted the sparkle to be all over but not saturating to the point of overdone. And so a very gentle, light, watered down touch on the leaves or the petals, and then pour this beautiful Aurora Borealis mixed in with this white, really lovely sparkle is just perfect for the final touch. So there's the silver ones that went with the paper, and there's some gold ones, and they all sparkle just beautifully. I love it. So the finished product really inspired me for the card. I really had no idea what I was going to do with the card until I had finished that. And the floor borders and pockets, I think I still have some of these in the store. Makes a lovely little pocket on the front of the card because I've decided to make this a gift card. And I will be using a lighter piece of paper for the very lacy top cover. But this also comes with an edge so that you can cut a piece to lay under, because as you can see, those flowers on the right hand side, if you tried to stick something in, they would possibly tear. And this way, if you glued the edges to the piece that goes with it, they're strong and they're still beautiful. And I did emboss with some pearl sparkle embossing powder over the whole entire thing. So I stamped Versamark and sparkled the whole thing up. Now, because I've decided to make this a gift card, I wanted to make a little envelope. So I have the Oakberry Lane paper here, and I decided not to go with the 2 and 3.5 gift card size, but make it just a little bit larger. I didn't want to run into any issues where anything was too tight, and you know, you get, after a while of crafting, you get to the point where it's like, yeah, the instructions say this, but, and I see my husband do the same thing with tools and stuff. This is the way I'm going to do it. Experience teaches you that use the instructions, follow them, especially in some cases, exactly. But once you have some experience, you might change things up a little. So I'm making the envelope just a little bit bigger with my envelope punch board. These are fun to have. And if you want to make matching envelopes of all different sizes, I even have an app on my phone now that helps me if I'm trying to make an envelope that isn't listed on their charts over there on the left. So in case you haven't seen this before, I'm just creating the creases with the little embossing thing that they send, and the punch cuts out the little angles and stuff, and it's totally imperfect little envelope. And I have no idea why I had to keep doing this twice on the edge. I probably have something stuck in there. I decided to curve the edges so the other side of the punch does do the edges, and then just some glue, and there you go. I've got a little envelope, matching paper, with just enough size to not have to pull out the card with any tension. A little extra space, because I think it's okay. Nobody will mind if there's a little extra, if it's a little larger. Then I just glued the edges. You can see I still have a little glue. I'm rushing at this point, huh? Glued the edges of the pocket onto the face paper that I've decided to put on, and once that was all set, I put the whole thing onto the front of the cardstock I had prepared for the card itself. So at this point, I'm ready. I'm excited about putting the flowers on, and I chose to go with the gold and keep it in the warm tone. Started with a larger one in the corner, and then I'm going to put 3 of them there, and I'm going to create 3 different spots where you can see the flowers. And maybe some of you wonder sometimes when you hear about people saying stay with the odd numbers. Who knows what it is? Our eyes, according to brain research, love symmetrical things. The beauty of a face is measured on a CAT scan according to evenness of eyes and all those kinds of things. But in the arts world, we pretty much know stick to the odd numbers, which would not be evenly symmetrical. Who knows why, but that's most appealing. And the same thing, because I actually am a musician and a music teacher, that's my real job. I know as a composer that that is true of music too. That the greatest composers and the best songs, the basic rule when you're learning composition is to work in 3s. So if you're going to sing a phrase and it's supposed to be, they call it the hook of the song, you're probably going to want to do it 3 times. If you're going to put a little ending onto the song and you want the last phrase repeated, they actually call it a tag in music, then you're going to do it 3 times. For whatever reason in nature, we like odd numbers, and 3s are very important in all kinds of places. I'm always drawn to the curiosity of 3, and I actually like making geometric art with triangles and stuff. Maybe I'll show you someday some of that as well. So that's what I mean by I'm putting it in 3 places. This is the second place that I'm adding one of the smaller blossoms, and just making sure with my stylus that you tuck that down, press it in a little bit. Don't have to strong arm it, but just make sure that you have some good contact with your glue. And that's pretty much set for the final part, which is this envelope. And I couldn't help myself, I had to put a little bow on. So got some of my seam binding and tucked it underneath the flower that will become the 3rd spot that there's a flower, and put it in the corner of the envelope, which worked out great because that little cute squirrel in the middle of the blossom is still seeable and kind of makes sense when you tuck the envelope into the pocket that I created. So what did you think of the mold and the pretty 3D blossoms that came out of this? I really like the molds. I wasn't sure, like I said at first, but wow. Here's the finished product in all of its glorious pink. I had gone back and just put a little sentiment there, happy birthday, and stamped it out on a little piece of white cardstock and tucked it in. I have a gift for you written on the inside, and of course the card in this case is actually on the outside. So I thought that was kind of neat. I hate when you open up cards and things fall. It won't have that happen. The card won't fall on the floor. It'll be tucked into the front, and that sparkle is perfect, just the right final touch. I hope you enjoyed watching me do this. And again, HuckleberryHerbs.com if you'd like the molds or the stamps or the dies, or a lot of other things from Heartfelt Creations, some Graphic 45, Gina K, that's the new thing. Till next time, everybody, this is Kathy from Huckleberry Herbs and Art. God bless.